good to be here. It's 11 o'clock. All is well in my world. Let me know you're here. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Creative Companions, where we're all believing mirrors for one another. I'm here in loving awareness. Lovingly aware. I am loving awareness. That's the mark we made in group a couple of weeks back. I am loving awareness here with you now. Just let me know that you're here. I'm just going to start breathing in and out, preparing ourselves for meditation. I'm not sure we're good here. Just let me know you're... Oh, good, April. Did things a little different today and just getting in the swing. Back traveling yesterday and all is well, all is well, all is well. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today's going to be a most spectacular day. Come on, my friends, come on along. Join in the magic, join in the song. Make today a most spectacular day. So grateful that you chose to start today with me. Something I've been thinking about is, do you wake up with a morning song in your head? And if so, is it giving you the feel you're looking for? I'll sing you one more. My morning song that occurs to me is by Carole King. It's called Beautiful. You got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. 'Cause people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful as you feel. Da-da-da-da. So, feeling beautiful, get comfortable in your space. We are on chapter 6 of Polishing the Mirror by Ram Dass. And we're going to discuss chapter 6 today. And for our project, we're going to be working on our fish. So if you did fish, I have two sides to my fish. If you did fish, grab your fish. Your fish are on cardboard. We painted these. If you don't have one ready, while we're talking here, go ahead and paint your cardboard blue. Let that dry a minute and just make some random fish shapes to get you started. We are going to need our painting supplies today and a knife to cut with, which I pulled out a knife and now I don't see what I did with it. So just gather all your things. You'll need a palette. You'll need your paints. You'll need paint brushes, of course. And then something to cut with, a craft knife, X-Acto knife, whatever you call it. And I think I have two of them in this thing. And I pulled one out right before I went live, and now I don't see it anywhere. Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, I also meant to bring you a finished version of what it is exactly that we're working on, but I also left that in the Dragonfly, the RV. So, I don't have one to show you, but we're going to do some cutting today. If you do not have a knife, access to a knife, or if you did not make your art on cardboard, then this cutting part is not for you. So you're going to have to alter what we do, and when we start crafting, I'll give you some, different pointers and things we can do. So as we gather ourselves and our things together for today's group, just start deepening your breath for me now. Help me be here now. Help you be here now. We meditate to come to the present moment. To be here with ourselves and with this process, this creative process that is so much fun. We don't have to be nervous. We're just going to have fun. Drink our water. Breathing in and out. Eventually, your balance shifts with conscious breath, which we've been talking a lot about. We did a guided meditation. I do believe it was on week 1. So I'm gonna revisit that. Okay, and I think we made some art about this meditation. Boom. That would be this. I'm gonna go in that heart space there. Huh, isn't that nice? Okay, so go ahead and sit straight. So your head, neck, and chest are in alignment. Start by focusing on your heart area in the middle of your chest, the spiritual heart. With your mouth closed, breathe in and out of your chest, focusing on your heart as if you were breathing in and out through your heart. Breathe deeply. Let's do that 3 times. Because of the purity you are seeking, keep breathing. Many incredible high beings are present, and with them comes the spiritual substance out of all which form derives. You can imagine that substance as a golden mist that fills the air. With every breath, don't just breathe in air. Imagine you are pulling into yourself this golden substance. Fill with it. Let it pour through your entire body. Breathe in the energy of the universe, the Shakti of the universe. Let it fill your whole body. Each time you breathe out all of the things in you that keep you from knowing your true self. Breathe out all the separateness. All the feelings of unworthiness. All the self-pity. All the attachment to your pain. Breathe out all the attachment to your pain, whether it's physical or psychological. Breathe out anger and doubt and greed and lust and confusion. Breathe in God's breath and breathe out all that impedes you and keeps you from the one. Let the breath be the transformation. Now let the golden mist that has poured into your being focus in the middle of your chest. Let it take form as a tiny being the size of a thumb, sitting on a lotus flower right there in the middle of your chest. Notice the radiance that comes from within. Use your imagination. As you look upon this being, see that it is radiating light. See the light pouring out. As you meditate upon it, experience the deep peace that is emanating from this being. Feel as you look upon this being that it is a being of great wisdom. It's sitting quietly, silently, perfectly poised in your heart. Feel its compassion and its love. Let yourself be filled with its love. Now, slowly let that tiny being grow in size until it fills your whole body. So its head fills the space of your head, its torso your torso, its arms your arms, its legs your legs. So now in the skin of your body sits this being, a being of infinite wisdom, a being of deep compassion, a being that is bathed in bliss, a being that is self-effulgent a being of perfect tranquility. Now let this being begin to grow in size. Experience yourself growing until everything in the room around you is within your body. All of the sounds, all of the sensory experiences are coming from inside you. Continue to grow. Feel your vastness, your peace, your equanimity. Your head extends into the sky. Expand until your town, your environment, and all those beings within them are contained within you. Experience the human condition. See the loneliness, joy, caring, violence, paranoia, a mother's love for her child, sickness, fear of death. See all of it. It's all within you. See it with compassion and with caring. And at the same moment with equanimity, feel the light pour through your being. Let yourself grow still larger. Feel your vastness increase until you're sitting in the middle of this galaxy. The earth deep within your belly. All humankind is within you. Feel the turmoil and the longing. Feel the beauty. Sit in this universe silent, peaceful, compassionate, loving. All of the creations of human beings' minds are within you. Look upon them with compassion. Continue to grow until not only this galaxy, but every galaxy is within you. Till everything you can conceive of is within you. You are the only one. Feel your aloneness now, your silence, your peace. There are no other beings here. All planes of consciousness are within you, and all beings are within you. You are the Ancient One. Everything that ever was, is, or will be is part of the dance of your being. You are the universe, so you have infinite wisdom. You feel all of the feelings of the universe. You have infinite compassion. Let the boundaries of your being dissolve and merge yourself into that which is beyond form. Sit for a moment in the formless, beyond compassion, beyond love, beyond God. Just let it all be in its perfection now. Very gently, very slowly. Let the boundaries of your vast being, the One, reestablish themselves. Vast, silent, all is within you. Come back from beyond the One and slowly come down in size. Come down through the universe into this universe. Until your head is once again among the planets and the earth is within you. Come down again until your head is once again in the heavens and the cities are within you. Come down in size until your head is at the top of your room, and stop here for a moment. From this place, look down into the room and find the being you thought you were when you began this meditation. Look at that being. Bring to bear all of your love and compassion. See the journey of that being as it is living out this incarnation. See its fears, its doubts, its connections. See all the thoughts and objects it clings to that keep it from being free. See how close it is to knowing who it is. Look within that being and see the purity of its soul. Reach down and with your mind, very gently, place your hand on the head of this being and bestow upon it your blessings, that in this very life it may fully know itself, experience simultaneously that which blesses and that which is being blessed. Now come back down into the body you thought you were when you began. You were still flesh surrounding a being of radiance and wisdom, a being that of compassion that comes from attunement with the truth, with love for all that comes from being that vast one. That love and peace are pouring out of you to all beings everywhere like a beacon for all those who suffer. Remember those people toward whom you have felt less than loving. Look to their souls and surround them with light, with love and peace of this moment. Let go of the anger and the judgment. Send the light of love and peace out to people who are ill, who are lonely, who are afraid, and who have lost their way. Share your blessings, because only when you give can you continue to receive. As you journey on this spiritual path, accept the responsibility for sharing what you receive. This is harmony. This is becoming an instrument of the will of God. Let the radiant, perfect being within you, again, assume its diminutive form, the size of a thumb. See it sitting again on a lotus flower in your spiritual heart, in the middle of your chest, radiant with light, peaceful, immensely compassionate. This being is love. This being is wisdom. This is the inner guru. This is the being within you that always knows. This is the being you meet through your deeper intuition when you go beyond your mind. This is the tiny form of the entire universe that exists within you. At any time, you need only sit and quiet your mind, and you will hear this being guiding you home. When you finish this journey, you will disappear into this being, surrendered, merged, and then you will know what the great realized being from India knew and what he meant when Maharishi said, God, Guru, and Self are one. I and I. One deep breath in brings us back to the present moment. Here, here, here now. We are here, here. So grateful, so thankful for that meditation. So thankful for Ram Dass for sharing that with us. Thank you all for being here. We're going to be looking at chapter 6. What I just read there was from chapter 1. And we did that meditation at the beginning. It sure did feel good to do that again. Thank you so much for being here with me now. We're going to be looking at chapter 6, From Suffering to Grace. And we're going to be working with our fishes. Let me get you started, and let's talk about that for a minute before we even do our weekly check-in. Actually, let's just relax for a second and not get started on our fish. unless you do not have fish. If you do not have fish, go ahead and paint your cardboard blue and make some fish-like shapes with yellow and green. How about that? As many as you want to while we do our weekly check-in. Creative Companions uses Julia Cameron's work, The Artist Way, as our guide, and we do that together as a group always at some point. And there are basic tools that we learned from The Artist Way that we continue to use. So we like to talk about those every week. The first one is the morning pages. And the morning pages are 3 pages in your journal, your diary, whatever you want to call it, of brain drain, of just getting it onto the page in the morning, maybe programming a positive day. That's one wonderful way to use our journals, is to whatever we find ourselves struggling with, and maybe we write about that, and then we can counter that with some positive affirmations and change it up. Why do we do those in the morning? You know, Bonnie and I were talking about that. Bonnie's a regular Creative Companion, and she has really embraced the morning pages and learned a lot from those, as have I. And we were talking about one of the many reasons to do those in the morning. We set the tone for our own days. We choose with our thoughts whether we live in a beautiful divine universe or one that's out to get us. And in our journals, we can program and we can get a hold of that monkey mind that wants to play those old tapes for us. We can get a hold of it in the morning. And by the time you get to the end of page 3, have really changed up the self-talk. And your self-talk can become more positive. You can set an intention for the day to just notice the good stuff. You can work with affirmations and program a positive day. A gratitude list is a great way to use your journal. I'm thankful that today's going to be so spectacular, and I'm going to get to hang out with my Creative Companions, and we're going to make stuff. And just really paying attention to our self-talk is one thing that our journals do for us. It's a meditation too. You know, we often are on that treadmill of life, and we feel like we got to go, and we don't have time for this self-care, and we don't have time for this meditation and journaling. And so we have to train ourselves to sit still, to slow down with ourselves, to be patient. And so 3 pages of journaling in the morning is a great way to do that. It forces you to sit there until you write those 3 pages. You can have your cup of coffee with you and, you know, your glass of water, whatever, and just do those morning pages. Also, we had made a good stuff jar, speaking of retraining your brain. And the goal is to daily put one thing and just write it on a slip of paper and throw it in the jar. When we get to the end of this, this book that we're working on, Polishing the Mirror, will bring these out. But let me just pull one out of my jar. And you know, just again, learning to look for the good. It's always there. And we get stuck in the dark, and we get stuck at looking at what's wrong with this picture, you know, and to learn to start looking at what's right with this picture. Not only what's right with this picture, but where I'm going is wonderful and beautiful, and take that fear away. 6-2, this is like a 5-day good stuff. 6-2 to 6-7, Pyro Magic. I took my art out to a festival, hadn't done that for a while. Artist dates, that brings us to artist dates, the next tool that we use from the Artist Way. An artist date is taking your artist self out just to do something fun all by yourself, your inner child, however you want to look at that. Go jump rope, go for a ride in your kayak, go ride your motorcycle, play your guitar, paint something, sing a song. You know, it's just honoring that part of yourself that likes to have fun, and allowing. We want to be adults, we want to be grown-ups. We don't want to look crazy. But we have a very childlike spirit in us that really likes to be silly and have fun. So I did a lot of dancing and painting. Do you want to see? I'll show you. Like, I worked on this I arted at this. I was at this for about 5 days, and it's not done yet. Let's see. How do I get the whole thing in there? what I really want to show you is this tiny little me I made. So this was the festival, and I was painting the people I saw, but I made this little tiny me. That was the last thing I did the other day. I got to put the finishing touches on this, but just showing up at the canvas daily and at festival and painting the vibe, the characters, it's just so much fun. Just so much fun. You know, and showing up for yourself and for your self-care. Taking that time, setting a timer, getting up early in the morning so you have time to write in your journal and you're not rushing through it. That's something else to thinking about, how often we rush through life. You know, I've had to train myself to slow down in reading, like the meditation I just read. And slowing down with ourselves, taking time with ourselves is a form of self-care. You know, be fearless and play. Be here now, love now. I am loving awareness. I can only love now. What a beautiful life it is looking through these eyes. It's another nice affirmation. A lot of these are things that came from a song. You know, it doesn't matter where you get them. Just think, training your brain to think thinks that serve you well, that make you feel good. No stinking thinking is allowed. No stinking thinking anymore. We're learning new ways. The world's so different than the one before. My friend Bonnie wrote a song like that. All right, I'm going to talk about our art project again for a minute. So in Creative Companions, we meditate every week. We do our little check-in about our tools, which we just did, and we do a project together. You don't have to be an art major or have art experience to do our art projects. They're often silly and always fun, and we come up with something by the end that is pretty cool. So what we're going to do now with this fish one we have, I'm going to, as an experiment, start on this side. I have two sides. Anyway, so cardboard is corrugated, so we can cut down, and I'm just going to do it now, just wait for me, to that corrugated part and peel. So I am right now, risky business, going to try, and I started with my favorite fish too, because you have the option of peeling away areas of the water, of the background, or, and I forgot to bring glue, but glue is the last thing we'll need. Now, what we're going to do is gently cut. Take your time. This is a good example in taking your time with yourself, with your projects. If you do this fast, you might cut yourself. You might cut your poor little fish. So I cut all the way around that little yellow guy there. And now what I'm going to attempt to do is peel him off. Leave the corrugation there. I'm going to try to peel him all in one piece. That's what I was talking about, risky business. Look at this. It's coming right off there for me. Ta-da. So I'm going to lay him aside. So I cut him off. Now see under here, we have that corrugated part. So you'll want to pick out any paper that's left there. And, you know, go ahead, be messy. Our child self doesn't mind a mess at all. So you can just throw that paper. See that? So you can peel that all the way down to that corrugation. And then later we're going to maybe do some more painting. But for now, so now let's look at, maybe you don't want to cut yet. Let's watch a second. So that's the idea. If I cut that fish out, then I have another fish I can paint there. This fish could get glued back on somewhere, or it could even get glued over that, making that a shadow of this fish. But I don't know yet. Now, the other option is to cut the water. So let me do that. So I'm going to just pick a section that's blue under this fish. And instead of cutting out the fish, I'm going to cut in the shape of a random wave is what I'm doing. I'll show you in a second. So let me know if you read the chapter. I'm curious. So that's the other part of our self-care, is taking time to read Polishing the Mirror, which is the book we chose for right now. taking time to read that chapter and then give it some thought, process that information. That's self-care. That's using your spirit and your mind to try new things. And we humans like new things. It's interesting to me how so I'm peeling this off now and trying again to peel it all off in one piece, though it's not as important to me as the fish was, because this is just a random shape. But I'm going to do my best here, of course. Just take your time. You can come back. You can pick, I'm picking with the blade as I go to keep it going. So a friend of mine in West Virginia named Bernie Calhoun came up with this. She teaches a lot of art classes with children, and she came up with this way to utilize cardboard, and I absolutely love it, and it makes so much sense to me because, there's way too much cardboard in the world. All right, so there you have it. So I've peeled off this chunk, which I could glue back on at some point. So just keep your pieces that you peel off. And so then I have this shape now that I cut. Now you see all that where it stayed. I'll just go peel that off. I'm going to show you a couple other things here. Okay, so see, I'm just going to finish peeling that off. And this project is one that can really take a long time if you want to get real serious about it. And maybe it's something that you'll work on every day for a few days or for a whole week, and show us a picture when it's done. So no hurry, no worry. Make that your motto. People ask me all the time, when is that painting going to be done? Now, how would I know? I don't know. So, oh good, you read and took notes too. That's great. Yeah, so really embracing this information. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really enjoying the polishing the mirror. Some of the, last week was a little difficult to talk about. It was on death and dying. And that's not something we're real comfortable with. I'm happy to say I'm getting more comfortable with that concept and talking about it. And this is helping. Oh, that piece came off nice. So get to cutting and peeling. And then in a little while, I'll tell you what we're going to do next. So I like that. Do you guys like that? How that can really look like water. You see, if you make a wavy shape, maybe cut, and just randomly cut those. And then we'll paint this part too in a little while. So you have options here, however you want to do that. I'm going to show you one more thing before I start talking about the chapter. I'm going to go back to this first fish I cut out. So you have another option. Actually, you have two more, but I don't want to do the one because I want both sides. But you can cut past that corrugation now and cut that out. Peel that layer up. I'm just going to do it to the tail. Okay? So as you see the tail there, I cut out that corrugated part, peeled it away, and there's another layer of cardboard there. So a whole nother depth. You can also cut windows in these by cutting all the way through. And I've made little doors and then glued something to the other side. You can put a fish peeking through there's just, the possibilities are endless. So have fun. We're going to practice the art of listening now as we talk about chapter 6, From Suffering to Grace. So you're practicing the art of cutting, or maybe you're still painting. If you don't have a knife to cut with, then, or if you did yours not on cardboard and you did it on canvas, then what you could do is work with adding more details to your fish, adding some waves, with your blue and white. So adding some detail to your water, adding some coral-like shapes like I did at the bottom of this one with just that up and down motion of the brush. And then let me just give an example of dry brushing. Do you see where I have these, like, it looks like light coming from above there? Here's how to do it. So you take a dry brush that has not been in water yet. Your painting is already dry. Take a dry brush. It can be a yucky brush. Put it in the white paint. And then you're going to take most of that paint off of it on your paper towel. I check on my hand. Do you see that? That's too much. When it comes off that white, that's too much. What you want is so that when you push, oh, I took it almost all off. See, it made some little streaks. So you could play around with dry brushing to add some highlights. We'll do that again. There we go. See? And if you just have a little bit of paint on there, you push a little bit hard and it'll just come off very lightly, not making a solid line as if light's scattering in through. You know what? While I'm at this, I'm going to show you one more thing before we start talking. I know I keep saying that. So we're talking about, and I'm just going to give you a lot of instruction and then you just play. So you can do some dry brushing, add some highlights. You can put highlights on your fish that way. Let me do that once. I'm going to show you as far as painting in this corrugated thing. I have found that it looks, I like how it looks if I make the shadows the deepest parts. So when I'm painting in this corrugated area, maybe I would use 2 tones of green or whatever color I'm going to make that fish and put the darker color down in the deep spots. Let's use a totally different color here than what I've used on this canvas so far. Just going to give you this little demonstration. And then you can just play, be fearless and play. Make a beautiful fish scene, just keep swimming. You know, sometimes our art projects, in these ones that we're doing just to have fun, perhaps we do them like we do the morning pages. And Julia's advice on the morning pages, do 3 pages of brain drain, just keep the hand moving, just keep the hand moving. So what if we did that same with our art? For this hour that we're going to spend together, let's just keep the hand moving. Keep it moving. Keep it doing something. And the ears listening. You can hear the sounds far away. You can hear my voice. Maybe you can hear some birds chirping. So I'm going back now and putting the darker color in the deeper spots. Maybe I give it an eyeball at least. Alright, so now I have this like brownish gold little fish here. But like I said, we may come back. Where'd my little yellow guy go? I think it would look neat to glue that like that. So that's like a shadow under there. So there's that option too. So be fearless and play. Cut, paint, glue. Do whatever fun thing that you do there. I can't wait to see what you create. I believe in you. I'm thankful that you believe in me. And that you showed up. All right, from suffering to grace. Let's see what Ram Dass has to say about that. There are times when each of us has to bear the unbearable. It may come as physical pain, illness, or emotional suffering of our own or someone dear to us. Can you respond to suffering without closing down and still keep your heart open? Now, isn't that a tough question? It's almost instinctive to use your mind to protect your heart, to rationalize the suffering, to avoid the pain. But then you cut yourself off from true compassion for yourself and others. Armoring the heart is the opposite of opening the heart. You know, I did a meditation with a group that she took us deep into our heart, and I found mine to be in a cage. It wasn't armored. It didn't have walls around it anymore. Like a dog kennel kind of cage, so it could seep out really easily. I took the cage down. I'm happy to say. I folded it up and I put it away. I hope I don't ever feel the need to do that again, to put it in a cage. But I know that's there if I need to. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves. But I encourage you to check in and see, are you armoring your heart or is it open? You know the feeling of loving another person, and you know how that love feeds you. But when you experience overwhelming suffering, you close your heart defensively. Your heart may feel protected and less vulnerable, but it's also deadened in the process. Armoring the heart cuts off the living spiritual exchange of energy that exists in the universe and that nourishes the spirit in all of us. We all fear suffering. People find the world scary because they become overwhelmed by the suffering around them, their own and everybody else's. Are we turning away from the suffering because our minds are closing off our hearts to the suffering of others? The job of the artist is to not turn away. We're all artists. We're all creative beings. So why is there suffering? Good question. Anything in time is impermanent. As long as you are caught up in time, there is suffering. So the way of grace. The guru reflects our deepest self, our higher self, the one that knows. And the guru and our highest self is one. And that is who we see when we polish the mirror of our being. When we polish the mirror of our being, we're seeing our deepest self, our higher self, our true self, our guru. That one we just checked in with in meditation, the one that knows. And we know that it knows. Ram says, as I became more absorbed in the heart, I found it to be a place where separation disappears and knowledge gives way to wisdom. Thank goodness. Changing your point of view. As I see it, we have 3 vantage points or planes of consciousness from which we live. The first is the ego, the plane of personality. The second is our individual soul, part of which is the witness consciousness, the observer. The third is the mystic part of us. Quakers call it the still small voice within, or the inner light. Hindus call it the Atman. We can also think of it as the one. You know, that works for me. The one. Each of us has all 3 channels. So we have the ego, we have an individual, and then we have the one, the whole, the part of us that is the whole. They're all here simultaneously, but how you experience reality depends on which one your awareness is tuned into. When you dwell deep in the intuitive self, you're on the soul plane. If you follow that awareness and go in and in and in, you will come to God awareness, the Atman. The same awareness is in you and me. God consciousness is in the same as all of us. While we think we are this incarnation, our soul witnesses it all and ultimately connects us to the universal consciousness that dwells within each of us. So ultimately, we all know. So yeah, we live inside this body, but we're not this body. We can have pains throughout our body, but don't identify with them. Ram says, I identify with being a witness of pain. Physical pain is in my body. I am not my body. My body's out there. I'm in here. Pain is part of the body. Now, if we're talking about psychological pain, that comes from the ego, which is also out there. I remember I am my consciousness, my awareness. I'm inside, and I live with the pain, not as the pain, but with the pain. I don't become it. Mm-hmm. And this is for me, Kim, for my journey. This is where, um, triggers and PTSD. I live next to it now. I don't live as it. I live with it and aware of it. And I am aware of my triggers now and do not have to respond to them. I'm aware that based on my experience, certain things put a hitch in my giddy up or used to. Now I can just recognize, oh yeah, the old me would have felt a little something about that. But now we sit gracefully, stay in this calm, peaceful place. Let's see here. Living with both the perfection and the pain of suffering allows me to stay with the pain without pushing it away, because I have that balance within myself. I'm part of the unfolding of it all, and that includes suffering. You go from suffering to grace. Mm-hmm. As a human being with an emotional heart, I am faced with the paradox that I want to relieve suffering, while at the same moment there is another part of me that understands that sometimes there is grace in suffering. From a spiritual point of view, suffering is sometimes the sandpaper that awakens people. Once you start to awaken, you re-perceive your own suffering and start to work with it as a vehicle for further awakening. When you suffer, the suffering seems to envelope your world. Think of a framed picture of a cloud. If the picture is cropped too closely, you see only the gray cloud. If the picture is cropped to a wider angle, you see the blue sky all around. That is grace. That is grace. So we need to widen our view and look with compassion. Next, he talks about having faith. When the faith is strong enough, it is sufficient just to be. Without faith, the existential fears and uncertainties that we all have dominate. If you have faith, you don't have fear. Well, faith in what? He began to ask. And Ram says, I found that my faith was in the one, in the source. Oneness is a state of being. Oneness is a state of being. Faith is not a belief. Beliefs are in the head. Faith is in the heart. Faith comes from within you. You cultivate it by opening your spiritual heart and quieting your mind until you feel your identity within your deeper self. That opening to the deeper self, that one that lives in there, when you've quieted your mind, comes through grace. The qualities of that self are peace, joy, compassion, wisdom, and love. Sounds really nice. Yes. The art of life is to stay wide open and be vulnerable, yet at the same time to sit with the mystery and the awe and with the unbearable pain, to just be with it all. I've been growing into that wonderful catchphrase, be here now, for the last 40 years, says Ram. Here and now has within it a great richness that is just enough. Take some deep breaths if you forgot to breathe. I'm going to say that again. Here and now has within it a great richness that is just enough. Just simply being here now with yourself. Imagine the richness of a moment in which everything is present. The pain of a broken heart, the joy of a new mother holding her baby, the exquisiteness of a rose in bloom, the grief of losing a loved one, This moment has all of that. It is just living truth. All of that is going on right now somewhere, right? It all happens at the same time. Living in the fullness of the moment with joy and suffering. Witnessing it in all its perfections. Our hearts go out to those who are suffering. When we live in the moment, we're not in time. We're not counting the moments. This is really the important part, I think, here. And I'm reading to you from chapter 6, page 105. Getting caught up in the memories of the past or worrying about the future is a form of self-imposed suffering. Either retirement or youth can be seen as moving on, a time for something different, something new. Start fresh. It's a new moment. Aging is not a culmination. Youth isn't preparation for later. This isn't the end of the line or the beginning. Now isn't a time to look back or plan ahead. It's time to just be present. The present is timeless. Being in the moment, just being here with what is ageless and eternal. Be here now with the people in your life. Be here now to experience those moments and create memories with them. If you're off in your head thinking about the past or the future, you're not present with your people. And they need you and they love you and they want you to be with them. So be here now with them and yourself. But just be here in this moment, in your body. So next we're going to talk about giving, caring. Giving, caring. So now that you know that home is where your heart is, how do you live your life in such a way as to deepen that connection? There are many, 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 many paths. I'm talking a lot about here about giving and receiving. I know somebody mentioned yesterday asking for help. That's something that I have a hard time with. I need to learn to do. Remember that when you ask your friend for help, to hand you something even, so simple, you're giving them an opportunity to be of service. And they love you and they want to be of service to you just like you want to be of service to them. You feel good to cook your friend dinner and that makes them happy, or your spouse. And when we try to be so independent and do everything ourselves, we don't allow the people in our life to have that good feeling of being of service. And this is how true healing occurs. When we open our hearts, it allows the other person to open theirs. Then caregiving becomes a gift for everyone involved. When someone needs care, this is an opportunity for grace. So when you get to those edges where you say, I can't handle that, or I'm not going to do that, take a look at the mindset you're holding on to. There is the root of your suffering. That's where your mind is in relation to what is. So your resistance, he's talking about there, when you come up with resistance against what is, it hurts too much, it shouldn't be, I wish it weren't this way. That's stinking thinking. We just have to come to a place of radical acceptance, kindness, compassion for ourselves and what's going on. Seeing beyond the suffering. This is about where you stand in your awareness, in a place that allows you to be with suffering in the world without closing your heart. If you close or armor your heart in order to be in the world, you become a crippled instrument for the healing of the universe. So you do all you can to relieve suffering and work to keep your heart open. And this goes back to that idea that which I do, which is good for me, is good for all. So when we polish our mirrors and keep our hearts healthy and open, simply that is good for all. Now, if we take that out then and use ourselves in service to humanity with an open heart, that is good for all. You know, that which we do, which is good for us, which is good for all, inspires those who are watching. It's just beautiful. So the recognition that suffering is a fire that purifies is an important concept. As you become more aware, you recognize the reality of the Buddha's first noble truth, that existence on this plane involves suffering. The more conscious you become, the more you recognize that suffering is how the teaching you need in the moment is coming down. How you experience that suffering depends on your attachment, on how much you identify with what the Buddha describes as the transient non-self, what we call the ego, who we think we are. So how much we suffer depends on how much we're attached to the way we think things should be. Simple example is the foot falling asleep. We don't think the foot should be asleep, even though we just sat on it for a half an hour and it's tingling and the foot is asleep. And then we put our whole being into the sleeping foot and feel all that pain and all that tingling, when we could just stay here and simply notice that the foot is asleep. I am not the foot. The foot is part of the body, which is out there. I am in here. I can recognize and notice, but I do not have to focus on it, because focusing on it only makes it intensify. I can focus on here. I can focus on my breath. I can focus on light in the one and calm. So, how can we help? We often feel helpless in the face of suffering, especially the suffering of those close to us, and we wonder, how can we help? Simple acts of kindness are so meaningful, like the quiet moments between people taking loving care of one another, or the support and kindness of friends and family expressing concern, offering help, prayers, and food. Food can be so much more than physical nourishment. Or perhaps you offer a flower from your garden, or just listen to the fears and feelings of someone who is suffering, so that they know that they are not alone. Sometimes just being there with an open heart and a presence grounded in peace and serenity is enough. These are reminders of grace that happen when you least expect them, reminders that nourish the soul. Compassion. Compassion. We're almost done with this chapter. I hope you're having fun cutting and painting and then gluing pieces back on. Before I talk about compassion, let me show you one more quick thing on this project. Where's my knife now? Take some deep breaths. Love yourself. Love your art. Look what you're doing. Something you never did before, right? So I am going to just cut an edge off my cardboard here just to show you something. Let's see. So I'm just cutting a thin, boy, I cut a really little one. Didn't mean to do it that little. Oh, it'll work. Okay, so I just cut a little thin edge off my cardboard there. You might want to cut it longer, thicker, whatever, but watch. You can peel that off on one side or both sides, and then you have like this nice little bumpy piece. I cut it so small, but this is just another decorative texture you can make, like these little bumpy things that you could make into circles. You see that? And you can glue that on then. That would make some great coral, you know. So for that, you just cut thin strips and then peel either one side or both sides, see what it does. You can use it as something to glue on. I have found that when I'm gluing those on, if they don't want to stay in the shape that I have them in, I can use some straight pins to hold them down to my cardboard. So this is making a very three-dimensional piece of art here. So exciting. It'll be so exciting to see what you make. I'm going to wrap this up talking about compassion. Bearing the unbearable is the deepest root of compassion in the world. When you bear what you think you cannot bear, who you think you are dies, and you become compassion. You don't have compassion, you are compassion. True compassion goes beyond empathy to being with the experience of another, and you become an instrument of compassion. Your own suffering, be it loss, failure, grief, or physical pain, hurts like hell, and your heart may be broken, but here you are. It's hard to imagine a spiritual curriculum in which Suffering 101 is not part of the course for becoming a full human being. It's a fierce teaching. Part of that teaching is beginning to see through or give up seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, that cycle. The pattern of desire and aversion that fastens you so intimately to Maya and the illusion of separation. Something happens when you stop trying so hard to avoid suffering. When you wish it were different, you don't see how it is. So as you clear the mist of desire from your mirror, you start to reflect things as they are. As you dwell more in loving awareness and see things as they truly are, you begin to expand beyond the boundaries of your separateness. You start to experience the outer world in a way so that instead of being in relationship to someone else, you become them, I and I. At that moment, the suffering of the universe is inside you, not outside. True compassion rises out of the plane of consciousness where I am you, where you and I are one. This is a Buddhist loving kindness blessing, part of the metta meditation. And this is, I'm going to wrap it up here. I love you. I love myself. I'm very grateful for this platform and for Creative Companions and being able to share art with you. So now I'm going to read you this Buddhist loving kindness blessing. May all beings be free from danger. May all beings be free from mental suffering. May all beings be free from physical suffering. May all beings know peace. Oming feels good too. One more. Now go be loving awareness. Be in the present moment with yourself and your people. Keep your hearts open. Write in your journals. Take an artist date. Have spectacular days. Have amazing moments. Make beautiful art. Love yourself more and more and more and more and more. Self-care is sacred. I can't wait to see your fish. I'm going to work on mine and I'll post a picture. All right? I love you so much. Thank you so much for being with me today. Next week, we will be reading chapter 7, which is Content to Be. I like that. So for now, content to be me. I love being your creative companion, and I'll see you next week. Peace out.